It was eventful pre-match at Wembley last night, Trev, because boos for Harry Maguire. So the England team was being introduced to the crowd and Harry Maguire booed by a section of the England support. Trevor, we're going to get into this because, for one, Gareth Southgate seriously unimpressed by what he heard. And this is what he heard.
I don't understand how it benefits anybody because we're either all in it together or we're not. I would imagine if you asked a few actually why were they doing that, they might not even be able to answer because it becomes a mob mentality. Don't think for 1 minute the other players won't be looking at that thinking that could be me one day. And that's been one of the problems with playing for England. Players have thought, do I want to go? Because when it turns a little bit difficult, then the crowd are going to turn on me. And that happened with John Barnes here, and that happened with Ashley Cole a couple of times, it happened with Raheem. Now Harry, they're all outstanding players. We need a Harry Maguire playing well if we're going to have a chance of doing well this summer, because we're not going to win a World Cup with a load of players that have got 3 or 4 caps. He's top quality. In my opinion, he's the best centre-back at his club as well. And where this is all starting or being fed, I'm not sure, but it's ludicrous. It's almost like every time he steps on a football pitch, every action is analysed to death. I can't remember a player having that sort of spotlight on them at any point.
Now, Trevor is right, isn't he? Southgate is right on everything he said that I feel. What kind of England supporter boos his own player before his own player gets underway in a match?
Yeah, listen, I can't understand it either. I understand... in an international recently, he scored a goal after getting booed, and he cupped his ear to say, you know, you can boo me all you like, it doesn't affect me. So I understand there's going to be a little bit of a kickback from that, and certain fans are going to feel, well, you shouldn't be doing that to the fans. But I like to see that as well because it shows he's got good personality. We already know he's got good personality. Last season, off the back of the summer that he had. And then to react in the way that he did and have the season that he had for Manchester United, finishing second in the league, then going and being part of the England team that got to the final of the Euros, sadly missing out in the final, but shown great personality to get himself going and put in superb performances. One of the best players, I thought, in the tournament for us, especially in defence.
It's his Manchester United form that hasn't been good, and that's been widely reported.
So why are England fans who are going to support England booing one of their players who's got nearly 50 caps?
You've been on his back a bit.
I've been on the fact that he needs to be called out for his performances, and being called out for your performance is not the same as being abused. Critical observations and evaluative commentary is not the same as someone targeting someone for no reason. You can take praise, you take criticism as well. And there's too much of that in football where it's a one-way transaction. Yeah. Everybody wants to be built up and no one wants to take the consequences of poor performances. I'm not sure that booing a player before a game is entirely constructive. I'm not sure Gareth Southgate reacting to it is entirely constructive. If you pick teams on merit and if you're building a side on merit, then that's one thing. If you're picking players on the basis of trying to supplement their confidence, then there's an argument to suggest you should be picking Marcus Rashford because Harry Maguire's form is not much better than Marcus Rashford's. So why is Harry Maguire being included in a framework?
Because he's never let England down, Simon.
Well, that's fine, but then the bottom line is...
Well, why would you play Jordan Pickford? Because if you don't play Jordan Pickford, who's 17th in the league with Everton...
Rashford's never let England down either.
I think there's certain players within that squad, especially the players he's talking about, who've got 40, 50 caps, who've never let England down and actually done superbly well, where form goes out the window because you know what you're going to get from them players.
Well, you don't know what you're going to get from somebody because ultimately you put someone in different situations and you'll see how they react and then you'll find out what you get from them. He's never had this period of adversity in his career quite as significantly as he's having now. He's had other instances where he's got himself in trouble by going away on holiday and getting himself involved in situations that possibly he shouldn't have got himself involved in. And his form...
What's that got to do with slice of bread?
No,
he's already shown that he's got the integrity to get himself back into a certain performance level.
Can you agree the booing last night, Sam, is
integrity has nothing to do with it. It's about the quality of the performance. Now, I agree Absolutely agree. I don't see the point of it. I don't see the point of booing a player who's been picked for his
Especially
country.
before the game,
I don't know why
yeah.
you'd want to do it. But the flip side of it is that if you believe that players are immune to criticism, we have got players that lack character across the pantheon of football. We have players that can't deal with adversity because the only thing they can hear is praise. So when you hear criticism, all of a sudden it's an outrage. People are abusing people. The papers are weighing in on Harry Maguire. They were making the same observations last year. Nobody, like I said yesterday, has called him ugly, stupid, and not fit for purpose.
But Southgate was right to talk about it. Southgate's right to talk about it.
Well, he's right to talk about the reality of the constructiveness of it, but he has to accept that on the flip side of fans is an element of fans. It's the tyranny of the minority. You know, if there were 50,000, 60,000 fans in that stadium that were booing Harry Maguire, then by all means saying, what are you doing? If it's a bunch of fans, and say it's 500,000 or 1,000 fans that have booed, then you're in a different territory. And comparing it to John Barnes, Ashley Cole probably got a reception because Ashley Cole wrote ridiculous observations in his book about how much money he should and shouldn't have got and how horrified he was at being offered $100,000 a week once upon a time. So people took a dislike to Ashley for those sorts of observations. The treatment of John Barnes was poor because John Barnes was an elite player, but at times he didn't turn up for England. So people took that in a different way.
Well,
I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't think it's constructive. But I also don't want to get into the territory where the only thing you can do is cheer. If you don't like something, the alternative to it, whether you like it or not, is fans booing. And a year ago, we were told...
It's not the only alternative to it.
What is it then? Silence?
Well, yeah, just shut up.
Why?
Don't boo.
Before a game, Simon. So if you're a fan of England, why would you boo a player before the game?
I'm not suggesting. I've already qualified that and told you that I don't think it's particularly constructive. But basically, the dictate is do what we want you to do.
No.
Fans, you're really important. When the ESL is involved, shout to the rooftops, right? Storm Manchester United Stadium, stand outside football grounds, shouting as loud as you possibly want. But if you dare castigate a player because you don't think he's good enough to play for England and you don't like the cut of his jib,
I just don't think it's in the spirit of a fan. If you're going to support England...
In the spirit of a fan?
Yeah.
Have you bumped your head on the way in? What do you mean the spirit of a fan? Fans boo and they praise in equal measure.
Yeah, I think if you're playing poorly, they feel you're not...
He is playing poorly.
No.
He doesn't merit being in the England side.
Not for England, he's not.
He doesn't merit being in the England side.
He shouldn't be in the England side.
No, God no. On his form?
Trevor,
Do you not think it's a bit of a coincidence that both Jordan Pickford and Harry Maguire are both at clubs where they've had a very, very difficult season?
Oh,
and
boo-hoo! They're playing for Manchester United, the biggest club in the country, and their form isn't at a level. They should be called for it. He gets the remuneration, the success and the rewards of it. Simon, be called for it.
And some of the fans booed last night. Yep. In fact, a large section of them booed last night. So were you one of them? So let's hear from you. If you booed Maguire before he's even got a chance to kick a ball, why did you do that? If you're not going to cheer him, why did you not just zip it until the game kicked off? Why boo him before he even starts? Dario's giving it, I've got an alternative take in this. They weren't booing the player, they were booing the selection of the player. Robert Goodfellow says, no, it makes you embarrassed to be an England fan. Jack says it was completely warranted, the booing. Maguire's been absolutely shocking all season, and Gareth said that he'd pick him on form. The fans, I can tell you, are sick of it.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.